You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your host, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as: do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey, 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 great afternoon, guys. Great afternoon, and welcome, welcome, welcome to another wonderful session of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. And I'm your host, Annette Harris. I'm fiddling and faddling with this microphone, but I am still Annette Harris. Thank you so much for joining us, for watching and or listening. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day, for what you have done already, how you have blessed us. We thank you for your many blessings. We ask that you would get the glory out of today's session. In the name of Jesus, we pray. And our opening scripture is the first part of Hosea 4 and 6 that we like to state every week that we come on. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And again, we are grateful to be here on this afternoon. It is another Wednesday, another time for Mind, Body, and Soul to come before you to present to you what we believe God has given to us. I ask that you, when you come into the live feed, if you would go ahead and like and share. Would you mind doing that for us? Go ahead and click in the share button. I always tell you it costs you nothing. Go ahead, click the share button so that everyone will know that Mind, Body, and Soul is on live at the present time. And then also, we're on Intellectual Radio. If you type in intellectualradio.com, you will hear us there, this wonderful station, iHeart Radio station. And then also, I'm on my YouTube channel. Have you subscribed to my YouTube channel? Please take time to do so. If you go to YouTube and type in Get Caught in Annette, ANET, you will find us there live as well. I am actually going to present a beautiful guest on today. I'm excited that she is here with us on today. I'm excited for her journey. I'm excited for what she is accomplishing. This young woman of God actually reached out to me not too, was it a month or two ago? About a
Probably a
month,
month.
probably a
Yes,
month ago.
yes.
Okay. And we actually met last year, sometime, and we met through a mutual business person, if you will. And she reached out to me. She's like, "You remember we met?" And I'm like, "Yes, I remember." And so she's telling me about her organization that she has started, her foundation. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" We talked on the phone, and she just got me excited all over again, just because of what she's doing. So I am going to see if I could. I'm going to pull up your website, but what I want to do is to have you to verbally introduce yourself to my guest. Her name is Catherine Staten. She is the CEO and founder of Flourish and Grow. And many of you listen to my my pre-show, and I said, some of you may think of that name, may sound like a plant company or something. But you know what? I mean, it's a catchy name. It will grab your attention, and we're going to let her tell us all about Flourish and Grow on today. But welcome to Mind, Body, and Soul. And I always ask you guys to welcome them in, my new guests, Mind, Body, and Soul style. Make them feel comfortable. She told me a little bit that she was a little nervous, but I know she's going to do just fine on today to talk to talk about. And she knows why I'm laughing. She's like, yeah, okay. Welcome to Mind, Body, and Soul, Catherine Staten. How are you on today?
I am wonderful, and thank you so much for having me here. This is a delight, even though, yes, I am a little nervous, but I think I'll be okay. I
I
think
know
I'll be
you
okay. Just don't ask me any hard questions.
of course not. But you know what? We're going to talk about Flourish and Grow today.
Okay,
So
great.
that's in your ball. That's your area.
That is.
That's your ball.
That
That's your
is.
ball game.
Yes.
And that's your
All of
baby.
that.
That's your baby.
Mhm.
So why don't you tell my listeners and my supporters who you are? Who is Catherine? She told me I can call her Cat. So
You can call me Cat.
when you hear me say Cat, I'm not
Yes.
disrespecting her.
That's
She
fine.
did say that. Tell them about Catherine. Tell them about who you are and your journey, however much you want us to know
Okay.
personally about you.
Okay. So, hi, everybody. I'm going to try to be just as bubbly and energetic as Annette.
Well, come on
Okay.
with it.
That's a part of being caught in the net, right?
There it is. Came to get caught in the net today, guys.
So my name is Kathy Staten, and professionally for about 30 years, I have been involved in health and human service programs, either providing direct service or actually running programs administratively. I've worked in the office that funded federal programs. So anything that you could think of, from community organizing to being a caseworker to running statewide programs, having contractors that have to report to our office to make sure they're fulfilling the requirements of their own contracts, to quality and compliance, anything that you can name and think of, I've probably done it and enjoyed every minute of it. Something a profession that I chose, it did not choose me. And so I've enjoyed every minute of, I won't say every minute, because when you work with a bureaucracy, it's some things that, but in terms of serving people,
There you go.
serving people and trying to empower people, I have enjoyed all of it, almost to the point where sometimes it didn't feel like work.
Is that right? Okay.
That is totally
Came
correct.
natural to you.
It came naturally. I just have loved what I've done in interacting, even in challenging environments. I have always just loved helping people, and so I find it a joy. And so recently, back in the end of 2019, I decided that I would branch out on my own to thank you so much to try to launch a nonprofit. And so I was trying to think of something strength based in terms of what we would call it. And so that's why I call it Flourish and Grow, because that's what I actually want people to do.
Yeah.
That's what I actually want people to do. So I embarked upon a journey of getting more training. I embarked upon a journey of getting experts that have been in business and had nonprofits to give me some of their wisdom, because I am not a spring chicken. And so I need to have somebody
I
else.
can't tell.
I need to have somebody else that has already bumped their head. And so maybe I can avoid some of the pitfalls and kind of make my line a little straighter to where I want to be. And so I started that and really started learning more about trauma informed care, and got some training and some certification in trauma informed care. And then also just recently being certified to instruct the mental health first aid, which I believe everybody should be trained in mental health first aid. Maybe I'm biased, but maybe the more we talk, you'll kind of find out why. And so those are a couple of the things that I'm focusing on in terms of providing training, facilitation, consultation, and so forth and so on in those areas. So I'm really doing some of the same things that I did before. I'm just building my own personal network of people that are going to propel me forward.
Yes.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. I got excited all on the phone when we were talking.
I know.
And I love it. Well, my show is psychology based. Okay.
Okay.
So that's right up my alley. I feel like a kid,
Okay.
or a rabbit in the brow patch right now.
Okay.
But I love your enthusiasm, and I love how you are. One thing you said, you love to help people. So you
Yes.
want to do, you basically, like you said, you've done this stuff before.
Yes.
But now it's you. It's Catherine
Yes.
now. It's
Yes.
Kat. It's
Yes.
what you desire to do to help people, and I think it's admirable. My hat is off to you, and I appreciate what you're doing. Now I want to ask you. Now you mentioned about how you ventured off at the end of 2019 to do your own, if you will, and you said that you did training or had
Yes.
training.
Yes, I did.
Um, that's another thing I take my hat off to you as well. But let me ask you, you talked about the trauma informed training. Now, is that something that you were drawn to, or with your, researching, checking out what you should be training or getting further training in, did that like pop up and grab your attention? How do you like really start focusing in on trauma informed care?
So I'm not sure. Hopefully, your listeners and everybody is kind of aware of the large study that was done on the West Coast back in the late 90s called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. And in this study, it was about 17,000 people participated in this research done by the Centers for Disease Control in Kaiser Permanente in California. So, Kaiser Permanente is a large healthcare company. You might liken it to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And you know, healthcare companies are always considering how they can lower healthcare costs. So they did this study, and 17,000 people was quite a large study. And what they were looking for is how early trauma and early stress and toxicity in basically home environments really affect us or can affect us negatively throughout our lifespan. And that's what they were looking at. So the study was done in 97, 98, late 90s. I didn't find out about it until 10 years later, which was
Probably
like
same with me,
2000 or
right?
something like that.
Mhm.
Okay, so now it's 2020. It's 2020. And sometimes when I talk about it, people say, oh, yeah, I heard about that. But I guess in some instances, I'm kind of amazed that it was such a large study. And certainly there have been some work on trauma before then, you know, and some other theories and everything. But this was the first time it really that I was really enlightened in terms of this study and how dosages of early trauma can really affect us throughout our lifespan. So fast forward 10 years, I'm waiting for someone to kind of get in the game and bring this um, information to the forefront so that we can get education and awareness. I'm waiting for somebody.
Right.
So now it's 10 years later after I learned about it. And so now I'm here trying to be that person.
And you're doing it. You're doing it.
So that really was the thing that kind of got me started. And I just believe that trauma is so prevalent in our society in many different ways. And along with trying to empower people, I believe that people have more inside of them than they're actually accessing. And sometimes it may be due to this unaddressed trauma. And I don't know about you, but in our community, sometimes we just feel like, hey, girl, that stuff happened. Just like get over it, girl. Go on with your life.
You can say that again.
Okay. And so we discount the effect that trauma can have on us because we think something may have happened a long time ago. Oh, you should be over it by now. And even in terms of grief and loss, just because something happened a long time ago, if I haven't done a whole lot of work in terms of my self awareness and to really see some coping mechanism that would help me, I can still be affected by that. It does not matter how long ago it happened. And so for us to discount this impact that trauma can have and just say, hey, go on with your life, I think people would be sometimes in such a better space for us to start these conversations. And that's really what I'm trying to do is just start a conversation and say, hey, it's okay for you to feel, because sometimes people are so shut down that they don't even realize how shut down they are. They just flat. And so that's why I wanted to start this conversation. And it's not easy because it's not something that people really want to talk about. People don't want to be kind of like dredging up stuff and why you talking about that and leave that in the past and where it is and don't worry about it. But it can impact us so negatively to where we start these type of self-soothing behaviors that then can cause other problems.
Yes.
because people are trying to self-medicate. They trying to medicate all this pain away. And anyway, go ahead, girl, with your next question.
Girl,
'Cause
look,
I
I'm
can
just
talk and
jumping.
talk and talk.
I'm jumping on the inside because this is what I've been saying all this time. There's a comment on the live feed that said the person she was waiting for was her. Brandy said that about you. Remember, you kept saying you were waiting for somebody to do something, and then
Oh.
she said the person you were waiting for was you. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Brandy, that's what I was thinking too as she was talking. But I'm glad you came to that realization
Yes.
that this is what I need to do. Okay, there's so many questions that are going on in my mind. Let me ask this. I'm going to ask my audience, my listeners, if you can type in your definition of trauma. Tell me what your definition of trauma is so that we can kind of talk about this.
Okay.
Just like you said, you want to open up a dialogue. You want to converse about this so that basically so people can get help.
Yes.
There is, and I can only repeat everything you said. A lot of times there are things that have happened in the past that will affect us later on in life. ACEs, that's serious. People
Yeah.
don't really realize it.
Yes.
They think just like you said, oh, you should be over by now. Oh, get over it. Oh, just go pray about it, or
Mhm.
something, and it'll just go away. But you don't realize that what happened back in 1965 is affecting you today.
Yes.
It is still affecting when you don't address it. Okay, I'm getting off.
Exactly. And we're not
I
even
feel like I'm in church
talking
or
about generational. See, we haven't
Right.
even got into generational.
Mm-mm.
We haven't even got into culture. We haven't even got into the systems because this goes from the individual to the family to our systems to systems that have caused trauma. So
Woo. Yeah.
so it's I'm just trying to get to, I guess, the smallest, the micro, which is if we can get the families right. So sometimes when I'm in the airplane and you start to descend and you see those houses and it looks so different, like they can look really spread out, but when you see it from a different perspective, and I think about all of those houses, and I think about how if we could get the stuff right in the house, we could correct some of the stuff at the school, at the church, at the in criminal justice system. Because if you had some gears, if you had a whole set of gears that were, how, if I could, I'm very visual. So if you had a whole set of gears, and if you if you looked at each one of those gears as a system, like the school system, the government, foundations, all of these things are systems. But this system over here is driving all those systems, and it's the family.
Yep. Start somewhere.
That's where it starts.
It starts somewhere, and we have to realize that.
Yes.
It didn't just pop.
It didn't just come from anywhere.
Right, just
So
all out of anything.
yeah.
Oh
So
my goodness.
anyway,
All right. Y'all see why I get so excited talking to her. My goodness, she is right up my alley. I mean, this is a psych nerd here today on Mind, Body, and Soul.
I'll take that.
Right.
I'll take that. I'm different. I'm kind of different.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I love it. Okay, let me recognize some of you that are here on Facebook Live. Again, go ahead and type in your response to what you believe trauma is. What is trauma to you? Type it in. There's no right or wrong answer, because how something affects me may not affect you, or it may be trauma to me, may not be trauma to you.
Exactly.
Type in what you, because we want to talk about this on today. Brandy is on. Beatrice Carter, we appreciate you. Trinda was one of my first viewers. Thank you for watching. Brandy says, "Flourish and grow like the title alone has me hooked." See?
Oh wow, thanks.
That's the name of her organization. Hey, Demetrius, thanks for watching. Buddy Gill is on, and I see you guys are talking to each other. Thank you. I appreciate you. Sherry is on. Jeannie Palmer, we appreciate you. Good afternoon. Trinda says verbal abuse.
Yes.
That's one. Thank
That's
you for
one.
typing that in. Brandy says you can be so emotionally damaged from trauma for so long that your body, mind, and system gets used to it, and it becomes their normal. They don't seek mental or emotional health. because they don't even know that there's a better way to feel. You just right where I could just end the show right
Yes.
there with that,
Yes.
because too often, Cornelius, I see you. Thanks for watching. Please, when you come into this live feed, please hit the share button if you have not done so already. Click the share button. We want to get out. We want everyone to, if they can, join in on this conversation, whether they're watching it live now or they're going to go back and listen to the replay, because we want them to know who Catherine Staten is and what Flourish and Grow is all about. So we're talking about trauma informed care, talking about trauma. And I'm going to hop over because I know there's a watch party also. I'm going to see if I can jump over there to make sure I'm not missing any comments as well. But please share, like and share, love and share, throw up some hearts and everything. So, talking about trauma, now, what is your definition of trauma?
So I do like to use Samson's definition. And Samson has a definition, and it's recently been expanded to take into some other things. But I'm going to use the basic definition. And so when we think about trauma, we think about, this really makes it easy to remember the 3 E's. We think about the event or events. We think about the experience. So the experience is can be individual.
Yes.
Okay. So you have an event or events, the way the person or the system or the culture experiences it. So if you think about civil rights and the movement, there were some experiences, but everybody didn't experience it the same. So it's not going to have the same effect. Okay. So the event, and I keep saying this so that people can get that. It's easy. The event, the experience, and then finally you have the effect. And so Samson, that's the Samson definition. That's the events that happen, traumatic events that happen, the person experience, how they experience the event, and the effect that it has on the person. So you can take that from micro to macro. You can take that from individual to the way our systems are now. And you can see that a lot of things are by design. I know this is just a one. I don't even know how long the show is, but anyway, I know it's got an end to it, so I can't just talk about everything and anything. But I do know this: the 3 E's of trauma, okay, are the event, the experience, and then the effect that it has. And so it can have physical, mental, spiritual, all of these emotional, social, emotional, all of these different effects on that person that we sometimes want to brush over and say that they are not irrelevant, but we don't really feel like it's enough for us to talk about because it's not really affecting us when it is. So that's why I like to comment, because people don't know that their behavior is maladaptive, but they don't think that it is.
Right.
And because in some instance that behavior may have actually protected them when they were in danger. And they may be in another environment where they're no longer endangered, but they still have that same behavior.
Yes.
So, like I said, I'm about starting conversations and bringing awareness. It's not something that you're going to talk about one time and, oh, I got it and I'm good. No, it's not. And I'm starting a coaching program for individuals.
Beautiful.
So I'm starting a series of courses. And in the first session, I talk about practicing to win. Like when you like to spend money and you're not used to saving it, and you try to save money, you're not going to get it right every time. So you have to practice to win. You have to keep practicing and falling down, not accomplishing your goal, and then going back and practicing again. You might not get it all the time, but every third or fourth time you start to get it. And then it starts to become a habit. And that's how you win, when you begin to practice. You got to practice and do it over and over and fail and win and fail 2 more times and win 3 more times until you actually get there. But you got to start somewhere.
Woo. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. So that's her response to your comment, Brandy. Thank you for that. Buddy says here, I equate trauma with a personal experience that can alter your world mentally as well as physically. And if it's not addressed or handled properly, it can break you for the rest of your life.
Girl, you got some, is this, say intellectual radio?
Right, right.
Yes, Lord, you got some intellectuals on
Yes,
here.
intellectuals. I'm telling you. And you know what? It's almost like if people would really just stop and think. I mean, it's not like it's difficult to even understand what you're saying because we've all experienced trauma in some way,
In some
some
way.
fashion, or another. You mentioned earlier, and I kind of wanted to touch on why we're not talking about it, why we're not verbalizing it, why we're not sitting down and figuring out, okay, what have you. Let's talk about that because I know, of course, especially in our African American community, we don't want to talk about anything that has a negative connotation to it or negative feel. You don't want to bring back up that, maybe Uncle Johnny did to you. I'm sorry if y'all got Uncle Johnny out there, or what
And I'm
have
sorry
you.
if he did something to you, too.
Exactly. Let's talk about that. What are your thoughts? I mean, here you are with
Yeah.
this foundation, and but you have to reach out to people.
I do.
You know,
I do.
so I'm sure you get the okay.
Yeah,
I want to
'cause
talk, and then the other
yeah,
don't come at me.
yeah, because messaging is so important.
Okay.
Messaging is really important. And what I have learned in this short time since the last part of 2019 when I started is that I need to um, really look at my messaging because my messaging is like I had a call earlier before I came here today, and everything that I talked about, trauma informed care, mental health first aid, all these things, the person was right. We were right there in the conversation, but I have to translate that to the people that I want to have a positive impact because of flourish and grow. And so I'm working on that now. My messaging, what type of messaging is going to draw people in and say, this is an okay thing for me to listen to. This is an okay thing for me to talk about. Hey, let's explore this and be open and willing to do that. So I think messaging is one way, and I think that's what sometimes draws us away from things like therapy or group work and stuff like that because we have one terminology and then the therapist may have another terminology. So you might get like a diagnosis of anxiety disorder. And the person might say, I don't have anxiety, I just breathe, hard, I hyperventilate, my palms get it's anxiety.
That's what
It may
is.
be anxiety.
Right.
But it's okay for the therapist not to be clinical with me, to help me with my anxiety. If you need not to be clinical with me, I know you got all the clinical background, you got all the letters behind your name and all of that. That's wonderful and that's good. But in terms of your messaging to me, the patient who's trying to get some help for her anxiety, you may need to message that differently to help me.
Okay. And
And
what you
so,
mean by messaging, like how you
I
package
mean,
what you're delivering to them?
yeah, I mean that the therapist or might not want to say, you have this number 8.245, something, something, something anxiety disorder. That's fine on the paper for you to get paid for that treatment.
Right.
That's what you need. That's what you need those numbers and stuff for. But in terms of treating me, you may do better for us to be on the same wavelength.
So I can understand.
Come back down the road, maybe you can get, because I'm all for people giving people proper terminology. Because I used to work in the DHS office, and people would say, I ain't give my link. I said, well, that's not what it's called. This is what it's called.
There you go.
Just so you have the right terminology, because I want you to be I want you to have that information, the proper information, just in case you need it someplace else. Okay, so but in order for me to come back, and I said, well, I'm not going back to her. That lady told me something, and that's not true. That's not what I have. I'm not going back. No, I want you to come back. And if it takes me not being clinical in my messaging to you, then I mean, what do I want to do? I want to help you, or do I want you not to come back?
Right.
So if you don't come back, I don't have the chance to help.
So more layman's
So
terms.
more layman's, and so that's what I mean in my messaging. I do have to do better in my messaging that way. And I think just knowing that it's a slow process. You can't go from 0 to 10 and okay. So that's why I said this is about starting conversations and making places safe for people to start conversations. And that's one of the tenets of trauma informed care, and that is providing a safe environment.
Yes.
That's the first thing. Because if I don't feel safe, everything that I have that may have caused me trauma, I'm not going to tell you about it anyway.
Right.
Because I don't feel safe.
I don't feel safe. And that's key. Because if I'm comfortable with you, then I'm more than likely going to share, a little bit more.
Yes.
Maybe about my past or something that has happened. If I'm comfortable with you.
Yes.
But if you coming out, at me, like you said, with this clinical terminology that, I'm
Yes.
scratching my head trying to
Yes.
figure out exactly what are you saying? I got to look it up in a
Yeah.
dictionary or something like that.
Exactly.
Or if you come out at me, you have this or whatever, and okay,
Right.
I don't think I do,
Yeah.
but
And when you take into consideration trauma, then you take into consideration past experiences where the person may have felt a sense of powerlessness. And so when you come into a situation like that, a clinical situation, then the person that is clinical is in the power position. And so you don't know about what other past trauma may have made that person feel powerless. And this is another way to cause trauma.
yes.
So listen, girl, it's just the tip of the iceberg. But anyway, I hope I answered your question. So I think it's messaging. I think it's cultural. I'm so happy that we are beginning to have these conversations. Even in our faith-based community, some churches are starting counseling agencies. We are more willing to talk. And so some of that is being broken down, and I hope to be some of the catalyst for that, for people to feel like, wow, is that what it was? Just an awareness of what your triggers are. Like, I don't know why, I just came in this room and I was fine when I was outside, but I'm starting to feel some kind of way. But you may actually, I don't know, possibly see somebody that could trigger you. It's a trigger because of past trauma.
Yes.
So that self-awareness lets you know, okay, I see what's going on. I know what's about to come. I can feel it in my body. How I'm getting ready to kind of like disintegrate here. I can feel that. Let me take care of myself and let me take myself out of this environment. But you have to have awareness.
Yes.
And really not discount those past traumatic experiences. You cannot discount that. Because we like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what's wrong with me. It seems like every time I see this person, or every time, like, I don't know what it is. Or I remember somebody putting on Facebook, like, I just don't know why I'm sad. And the person had recently lost their father. And it was like coming up on Father's Day. And I direct message the person. And I'm like, this may not be it. I want you to consider seasons, time of year. I want you to consider family celebrations. I want you to consider holidays. When you think about how you're feeling.
Yes.
If that person, passed away or something in the fall, and when the leaves were falling, and that may trigger something. And we're not even aware to the fact that, well, I don't know why I'm feeling so down. Or sometimes we may go back and it may have happened a long time ago. Oh yeah, that's right. That's when so and so happened.
Mhm.
Oh, that's probably why I was feeling kind of down that day.
Yep.
The awareness, and that's all.
Self-awareness.
It's to me. That's all the difference in the world.
It does. It
Being
makes a
aware and not
huge
thinking that
difference.
you're crazy,
There you go.
not
Ooh,
thinking that there's something wrong with you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead. Cause
love that you said that though, because self-awareness is so key. You even need self-awareness in physically, you know, knowing that okay, my body normally operates this way, and if something pops up on me or whatever, or I'm feeling a certain way, okay, that's not normal for me. So self-awareness is key mentally and physically.
yeah,
Is what I want to express. So
exactly,
I
exactly.
love how you said that. I love how you said that. I do have some more comments. If you guys are just now joining us, we are talking with the wonderful Kat Staten, Catherine Staten.
Girl,
She's
you
the
want me to change my name
CEO.
to Cat?
Kat Staten. I like it almost like a stage name.
Yes.
She is the CEO and founder of Flourish and Grow. Flourish and Grow is a wonderful company, organization, foundation that you need to know about. We're talking about trauma informed care on today. Many of us, just about all of us who are on here, you're watching, you will be watching later, have experienced trauma in one way, shape, or form in your life. And if you don't think you have, sometimes you probably need to sit down so you can kind of think back, a little bit. Not that we're not trying to make you sad or anything, but we're trying to make you aware of what trauma, is to you and how you can overcome it, how you can get beyond that, so you can be a better person. So you can help your family, your children, offspring coming along as well, because that's key too. Passing this down. Let me see who else is in here who have comments that I want to read. I did read Buddies. Let's see. I see you, Apostle Miles. Thanks for watching. Cornelia says this is great. Jeannie, she's saying yes. I'm not sure what that yes was too, but you've been saying some very, very key things here. Buddy also says I can remember being traumatized by my father's long leather belt. Whoo, see, tell you it's different for everybody. It helped to make me the man I am today. Some traumas are good for us, and that's another part we can get to as well. Thank you for that comment. Let me read on, and maybe you can address that one. Buddy says, Annette, I like this Catherine Staten. She says I'm smart. You are smart, buddy. Fred DeBose, hey cousin, thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Brandy says ditto. Thankful for that brand of trauma. Let's see, John Purnell, how are you? Youth Pastor Purnell, we appreciate you for watching. He said that's real good. It must have been something you said, Catherine. Another comment here. We're now living in the information age, yet people are unwilling to share helpful information. I appreciate this show. Oh, I didn't know that's how that comment was going to end. Why, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. And how you mentioned about you want to get people to talking. That's really the essence of this show. We talk about psychological and spiritual aspects of everyday life, things that people don't normally talk about. They normally, I always say this, what I'm great, say everybody, sweep it under the rug. I said, and we need to stop that because the rug is just going to get bigger and bigger and somebody going to trip over it. So we need to talk about it. We need to address things. We need to become more aware of ourselves, of our surroundings, so that we, again, can be better people. Let's see. Brandy says, absolutely, you can have major triggers, even if you haven't personally identified them. Their effects are just as potent. That's deep, very deep. I see you on Demetrius Brand Triplet. Thanks for watching. And I think Diane St. Hilaire is watching as well. We appreciate you. Again, you guys can continue throughout this session on today, throwing in your comments, whether it's something that we're talking about now, your definition of trauma. Let's hear from you on today. I'm reading them as they come in, and wanting to make sure that Miss Cat is aware of what you're saying here. Trenda says trauma isn't the same for everyone. Two children can experience the same trauma, and one can take it to darker places in their spirit.
Yes. That's why we
You
said
guys are lighting me up
event
today. Mm-hmm.
and the experience. Because yes, it could be the same identical thing. Just like I made the example about what went on with the civil rights movement.
Right.
But people can experience it differently. And because we all have an inborn personality and temperament. If you don't believe me, if you have more than one child and you brought more than one child home from the hospital, you may be able to see an inborn temperament. So we all have an inborn temperament. Okay. You could have had, and I always say it's best to have your fussy child first. Because if you have the good sleeper first, the second one is the fussy one, you'd be like, what's wrong with this baby?
Right.
No, there's nothing wrong with that baby. That baby may have a different inborn temperament. Okay.
Than everybody.
Than the other one. So yes, that experience can be the same experience, but two different people or two different cultures can experience it differently.
Oh, my.
Okay.
And that's good to know. You know, this is all some good information. I mean, you all need to take this in on today. Let me stop and pause for the cars. Can you give your website?
Sure. My website is www.flourishandgrow, one word, flourishandgrow.org.
Okay. Flourish and grow. And I'm typing it into the
Okay.
comments section .org, right?
.org.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want
if
you guys
go
to
there
make
and
sure.
give me your email address, I will send you out a recording, introduction recording that I did on the basics of trauma informed care, talking about ACEs and the survey, and I actually have those documents. They can have the ACEs survey if they want. They can take it. I taught these two classes at my church in December, and they were 2 hours each. And so I did like a 20-minute synopsis of these two sessions that I did in December and provided some documents. So if people want to leave their email address, then I will get that first recording to them along with the documents that I have prepared for that.
Love it.
Session.
Okay, guys, make sure you go to her website, flourishandgrow.org. I have typed it into the comment section, so you can click on that when you get a chance to visit her website and submit your email, and she will send you her recordings. Edward Johnson, I see you. Thanks for watching. Again, we are talking to the great Catherine Staten. Flourish and grow. Okay, so let's go back. I know we've jumped all over the place here. We talked about trauma, which is like the basis of your foundation. So, and we already spoke about why you started this organization. So tell us, what was the reason for you getting to the name of the company, Flourish and Grow? How did that come about?
Because I wanted it to be, strength based is kind of a catchword, I guess, in my field. I wanted it to be strength based. It's already a hard enough topic. So I don't really necessarily have to call it something with trauma in it or mental health in it, because that may be a barrier. Okay. But I can call it what I want you to do.
Okay. Again, looking at the packaging and how you deliver it.
Exactly. The messaging. That's what I want everybody to do. I want you to flourish, and so if you got two different gardens, you know how they do those commercials in the summertime with the product that really makes your tomatoes grow,
right?
And you got these two gardens, and they use this really good stuff, and they got the big juicy tomatoes, and then the garden over here, they got some tomatoes, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't just want you to grow. I want you to flourish. I want you to be everything that you think you can be. And I think that we have so much inside of us that is so untapped. And so now, in order for that to happen, I have to do it myself, right? So like I sat on this for 10 years. So how can I want somebody else to flourish and grow when I'm not using all that I have, and I'm not modeling flourishing and growing, which is uncomfortable. Because I'm like, ooh, I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say on this radio. If people going to be looking, and, the camera, I look real fat. You know, you got all these things going on in your mind. You got all these excuses.
Yes.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what they
So
are.
I have to model that. I have to model that I can flourish and grow myself. And you can too. But it's some stuff sometimes that we don't want to acknowledge that's holding us back. Like we take like 3 steps forward, 5 steps back. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And we always seem like we end up like, man, I haven't made any progress. Or maybe some other things we may need to look at and address or become aware of in order for us to take more steps forward than we are taking backwards. And so that's why I named it Flourish and Grow, because that's what I want you. I want you to flourish and grow. You know, I'm not mad. I just want you to do you. If you wanna do something, if you wanna start something, if you wanna learn something, and I don't know, maybe the circles you run in, they don't want to learn about it, but it's okay that you want to learn about that. It's okay. Okay. You know, maybe you just, you know, have a different way of thinking, but you're afraid to move out on it because in your general surroundings or the people that you're around, like that, you know, like maybe that's not an interest to them. That's okay.
Right.
Because you're the one that's trying to flourish and grow. So I want you to be as big as you can be, not as small as you can be. And then the other thing that I had to think about too is that I suffer a lot with fear. And so what I've been learning is that makes it about me. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna say that right, you know. And I suffer with perfection.
I think we all
Just
do.
like in these recordings that I did. That first recording I did, I bet you I did it over 15 times. It's only 20 minutes.
Oh my.
Because I have this thing, everything has to be perfect. And so everything has to be perfect and fear. But when you look at that, you're really internalizing it and not making it about the people who need to hear what you got to say. So don't make it about you. So when I'm in my fear and when I'm in my need to be perfect, I'm making it about me. So it's not about me. It's about the people and the people that have already commented today about the information that we're sharing that needs to be shared. And I know it needs to be shared. So I'm not making it about me. I'm making it about the people who will be impacted in a positive way because of what I'm doing. So don't make it about you. It's not about you. It's not about me. Not about me. Don't have nothing to do with me. I'm just the vessel and the person that has been put heavily, I mean heavily, on my heart that I need to do something. Why? Because I had the capacity. I have the capacity. And so therefore that means that I'm the one who needs to do it. And somebody already said that today. So yes, that's what I want you to do.
Mhm.
Not just grow, I want you to flourish. I want it just to be all coming out of your ears. Oh man, you reaching heights that you never thought you would reach and doing things that you never thought you would do. You know, in my course that I'm working on, I'm talking about, you know, how people that you might want to save money and you find yourself, yeah, you got that account, but you know how it's looking and you've been trying to save money for that long. You know, so I want you to, hey, I want you to flourish. And so that's why I named that.
That's how it came
That's,
about.
that's how it came about. Long
But you know
long
what?
answer for a short question, but anyway, that's how it came.
But that's beautiful. And I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to this name, Flourish and Grow. And you talked about some things that made me think of obstacles. Because my next question to you was going to be, and will be, what were your obstacles in setting up this organization, this foundation? You kind of talked about it just a little bit.
Yeah.
But talk to us about how this was, because it seems to me that your process in getting to set up this foundation is what this foundation is all about.
Yeah. See how like I said, I have to model it, right?
Right.
I have to model it. I have to get out of my comfort zone. So obstacles, and I think that for many people, mindset is an obstacle.
My motto, my mantra, everything starts in the mind.
Everything,
Go ahead.
everything. And we know the mind and the heart work together.
Yes.
We know the mind and the heart work together to cause behavior. So before you do something, just like me waving my hands right here, my brain, everything has worked together for me to be animated. Okay, it didn't just happen, even though it happened real quick,
Yes.
like that. And it's just like when you go off on somebody, you think, I don't know what happened to me. I just slapped him. No, it don't happen like that. Your mind and your heart, they don't want to go, believe me. And your behavior shows it.
Right.
It comes,
That was
it
the
just-
result.
Yes, that was the result. So it all works together. So mindset is so important. And then when you get to the point where you waking up thinking about something and you going to bed thinking about it, you really need to do it.
Mhm.
And so that was me. I was waking up thinking about, man, this would be good. So much so that I just had to start getting all this stuff out of my head because it was just I just had to start writing it down. So yeah, so thinking about it, that was my process, the mindset, like because I used to work for the state, and no disrespect or anything for people who work for the state, and because I just like I said earlier, I enjoyed my time there, and the people that I served, it's wonderful. But I just couldn't I was not satisfied just looking at letting my pension grow and going home and just getting my pension. It wasn't satisfying me. And so the
That's because of
obstacles,
that big heart you had.
I guess so. So the obstacles were really internal. The obstacles were internal. I'm so thankful that I have a supportive spouse who was like, well, hey, if you want to go for it, I'm gonna support and help you do it. And so that wasn't an obstacle. So now what? It's like you have no excuse. And I would be so satisfied with, like, I don't have to be on the stage. I could be a stage hand, like change the furniture around when the curtain goes down. I don't have to be in the front of the people. That's not my thing. But I've been called to do that in this instance. And so the mindset, and then when you getting up thinking about it and going to bed thinking about it, and you thinking about all of these things that are happening in our society that possibly I can have a little piece in making better, and it's areas where I still struggle, but yet it's like after you go so far, like you can't pull it back.
Can't pull back.
So all that
You in
fear,
it then.
yeah. So all that fear of perfectionism, you gotta, hey, just like today I told you, I was like, I'm nervous. But you have to still do it in your fear.
Right.
In your fear and in your perfection, or wanting everything to be perfect, you have to still do it. Like those audio tapes that I made, those are probably the worst audio tapes that I will ever make. Why? Because they're my first ones.
Okay. Right. Exactly.
And so the more I do it, the more I'm going to get better at doing it. And I'm going to go back and listen to those first ones, and I'm just going to cringe. I'm going to cringe.
Right. Right.
But hey, I saw a quote that says something like, do it right now, do it, and then make it perfect.
Okay.
Don't think that it has to be perfect for you to do it.
Right.
So you just do it and then you perfect it.
Then you perfect.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So that, I think those are some of the obstacles. And because I worked in health and human services for so long and come in contact with customers, I call people customers because a lot of people in human services don't call people customers because they don't see the exchange. But I do.
Okay.
When you think about somebody coming for services or coming for benefits, I see the exchange. So I call them customers. I don't call them clients or whatever the case may be, because there is an exchange. And every time I interact with people, I try to make that exchange more about uh, more than just that immediate need that they may have. They may have an immediate need that I can meet, but if I perish the thought, but if every DHS office that people go to apply for state benefits closed tomorrow, that perish that thought, right?
Mm.
Like, how can I help this person to go beyond this immediate need? And even in case management or home visiting services, if programs go away, I want to have modeled and been that person that can help you say, okay, well, I know I need to call this person. And when I call, these are the questions that I need to ask to get the information I need. You'd be surprised the lack of communication skills in our community. And I think it's getting worse and worse with these
I
phones
think
and this
so.
texting. Anyway, listen, girl, I'm
Yes.
all off on
And
another.
you know what? And that's a whole
That's a whole nother thing.
Nother
Yes,
whole
yes.
nother show. But I agree with you on that. My godchildren and my nieces and nephews, they used to laugh at me when I started doing the texting because I would type out the whole word, whereas they're doing like acronyms or whatever, or
Yes.
something like that, or abbreviations, and they just laughed at me one day. They say you have a huge text because you, and I'm like, well, that's just how I was brought up. But I agree with you. I think
Yes.
a lot is being lost with that communication
Yes. So
style.
anyway, hopefully I answered your question.
You did.
I'm
You
gonna try
did.
to stick to the question.
No, you're good. You are doing wonderful. Now, can anybody on the live feed or wherever you're watching or listening to us, can you hear any kind of nervousness in my guest? Anywho, uh, that is gone like way away. It's out nowhere.
Because you made me feel so comfortable.
Good.
And
I'm
it's about a
glad.
topic I could just
About a topic that you
go
can
on and on
talk
about.
Good.
So
And this is why we have you here because we want to talk to you about your foundation and what you're doing. So this is wonderful. If you're just not joining us again, we're talking to Catherine Staten. She's the CEO and founder of Flourish and Grow. She's my wonderful guest on today, and she is informing us of so much. We're talking about trauma informed care. We're talking about things that affect you, that affect us. Really, sometimes on a regular basis. Sometimes things have happened years ago and we never really addressed it. So this is what we're focusing on today with her foundation. And I have placed in the comment section, I'm going to see if I can pin that comment, her website so that you can go to her website when you get a chance, look her up. She's got some heavy stuff for you, for us all. I think I saw some other people jump in. I think Byron Hill is on. Thanks for watching. And there are some comments here. Elder Kevin McGee, I see you. We appreciate you. Let's see. Did I read this one already? I think that for some of us, our reactions to trauma can be related to our exposure in life, the quality of our lives. I didn't read that right. Okay, no, that's a new one. So that's from Buddy Gill. Do you want to say anything on that?
I mean, I'm not sure which way he's going with it, but I would say that that is true. Because if you think about a baby, when a baby is born, every organ is developed. It's only going to grow. The only thing that is not developed is the brain. What develops the brain is experiences. Experiences develop the brain. So if you think about trauma in the fact that all of these experiences that you are having, because it does affect um, our brain, our brain. And so when we really get into talking about trauma, there are some that's a whole long thing that we could get into. So experiences grow the brain. So the more positive experiences you can give your children at younger ages, the better. Because we know that at 2.5 or 3 years old, all of the synapses that are not being used, they start to be pruned back. The brain begins to reorganize itself. And it happens again in adolescence. That's why if you have a 2 or 3 year old in your house and you have a teenager, they're going to act similarly because the 2.5 year old brain is being reorganized and the 14, 15-year-old brain is being reorganized, or maybe even starting at 12 is when adolescence starts. So the brain is reorganizing itself for the adult brain.
Yes.
And we know that this part up here, where you get all your executive functioning and your decision making, is not all the way formed until about 20. I always say until about 25, but some people longer, 25, 26, 27. So the brain is affected by the experiences that you're having. So I believe that yes, his comment is true.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you for that comment, buddy. Brandy says mindset can be the absolute most powerful obstacle, self sabotaging. She says, "Ask me how I know." I see it. I see it. Buddy has an acronym for the word fear: false evidence appearing
Yes.
real.
Yes.
Yes, I've heard that one before. I've also heard false evidence about reality.
Okay.
All right. Jeannie says, in my day, the trauma we went through, our parents didn't know how to deal with certain things. So they couldn't help. And at that time, if you went to see someone, people thought you were crazy. So, of course, your parents didn't want people to know.
Exactly.
Jeannie, you just slammed the nail with the hammer just a little bit more there. I appreciate that comment, and it is so true. Um, I mean, I know that's my cousin; she's a little bit older than I am, but I can understand that is how
Yes.
that's how it was.
Yes.
There was no
Yeah.
number one, like she said, they really couldn't help you. They didn't really know how.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they came to the realization, oh, my child needs some help, they didn't necessarily, it wasn't the first thing to go cart you off to a
Right.
therapist or somebody to help
Exactly.
you, because
Mhm.
they probably think you crazy. And then if somebody, like she said, somebody else
Right.
found out, oh, your child a little cuckoo.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
first thing. That's the very first thing that's
Yeah.
gonna come out their mouth.
Right.
What your comment to that?
And so when you think about the family, I think about the family. Some families, I think about the family as a system. We talked about the gears. The family is down here driving all these other systems. Okay. So when you think about the family, we think about systems being open or closed. So a closed family system, they don't really want a whole lot of influence or opinions or anything from the outside. They feel like all of the issues and situations in our family we can handle within this family. So some families are very closed in that they try to solve everything within the family, within that system. Okay.
Right.
And usually that's not a good way to operate because you're going to exhaust that system very quickly. Okay. Some families are really open and they feel like input and going to the therapist and they want that because they are open family system. And I think generationally, our families tend to be more closed than open. And guess what? Remember that maladaptive behavior? Okay, so it could have been something to keep us safe. The reason we didn't want nobody to know about that stuff. We didn't want because we were trying to keep ourselves safe. But are we in that same environment where we need to be closed and we need to keep ourselves safe? So do we need to have some other type of behavior that will expand what our family has to deal with their crisis? Can I give you an example?
You may. Please do.
So if I'm just going to give this example, and I'm not. It's just off the top of my head. So let's just say I'm a mother, and maybe I have 3 sons, and maybe my oldest son has gotten in trouble in the neighborhood, has some juvenile justice issues. But guess what? I got 2 more coming behind that son. So if it gets to the point where possibly, my child is in the juvenile justice system or the adult justice system, the way that I possibly handled that in my closed system, unfortunately, doesn't seem like it served my child possibly to the best that it could. I have an opportunity because I got 2 more coming. Now, do I continue to do the same thing? And this is just an example.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I mean by being aware. Do I continue to do the same very thing? And I'm not putting this by any means on parent all on parents, because at a certain point we all choose when we get to that
Pass.
fork in the road, because at some point we have to take responsibility for what we do. I'm just making giving you an example of how we can possibly see that this closed system didn't work, but we may not really even really know, like, what can I do different? And we are watching this unfold in front of our very eyes. That's painful
That is.
for a parent. That parent loves their children just like everybody else. And no parent wants to see their child go down the wrong pathway. But to feel like you're powerless and helpless, and this thing is going to repeat itself 2 more times.
Mm-mm. And for you to be able to keep your sanity, I think there's something you
So
need to change.
that's what I'm saying about being closed and not being, and understanding that you may have exhausted all the resources in that system. You just may not be able to make things better just using those resources. And I think about a fish in a, like, the little goldfish that you go get and you put it in that little bitty thing, and the kid is watching it. Oh, look at the fish, and they feed it every day. Well, pretty soon you're gonna have to either change that water, or what's gonna happen? The fish gonna die.
Yes.
You cannot just keep swimming around in that same water. You got to change it at some point. You got to change the water. You got to put something else in there in order for that fish to stay alive. And sometimes we possibly need to consider that, but it still can be scary. So I understand the comment of your cousin. And that's why this work is also generational. It's very much generational, because sometimes parents may not realize the full impact of trauma that may be in the home environment. They may be thinking, all them kids, they in there playing the game, they don't know what's going on.
That's what we think.
Yeah. And so we may not really realize the impact that it's having on children. And that's why we're trying to have these conversations.
I love it. I love it. You said something earlier, and I actually made a note about, let me go back up, about positive experiences.
Yes.
And how we really need to, as far as passing it on. And I love the example you just gave in terms of changing, because what's the one little quote they say? When you do the same thing over and expect, right. Expect something different. That's insanity, or you're not thinking straight. But talk about, if you will, some examples of positive examples, experiences that we can teach our children, that we can teach our loved ones, our offspring, or whomever, because we experience so many negative experiences.
Exactly.
What can we do? And I'm sure this is probably something that you tend to, when people come to your foundation and trying to, train them or get them to understand, how to get beyond the trauma and the trauma that they're dealing with. Let's talk about some positive experiences that you can share with us.
Sure. So that's part of if you go to my website, you will see my logo, and right under the logo, you will see Trauma Informed Healing Center. Okay. So healing centeredness builds upon being trauma informed. And this came about. There's a Dr. Jen Wright in on the West Coast. A lot of this stuff with trauma is like the West Coast really leads the way. That's where that research was done. In California, you may know that the first Surgeon General is African American doctor, Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, who now California is leading the way with having the ACE survey included in pediatric orientation or pediatric interviews. So California is really leading the way, really under her leadership.
Love it.
Yes, that's one of my shoe rolls.
All
She wrote
right.
an excellent book The Deepest Well, if you want to get that book.
Okay.
Anyway, so in the Healing Center, tenets of Healing Center, one of the things that's really important is that Dr. Jim Wright was involved in these like circles, like these healing circles, and you probably heard of peace circles, and where they like were rehashing over and over again this trauma for these young African American males. And I guess one night, or whenever they were meeting, one of the boys was like, "Man, I'm tired of talking about, like I am more than my trauma."
Wow.
So then he began this whole paradigm shift into Healing Center, because Healing Center takes into consideration those positive experiences and building upon strengths. So if you have a child, one of the things that is important to be able to do is to foster that child's interests. Maybe they have an interest in airplanes. I don't know. Maybe they have never been to a summer camp. Maybe they've never been fishing. Maybe they have never been involved in a book club, and you can find appropriate books that would teach the same things you're trying to teach with talk by talking. But if they had an example of a young person similar to them in a book, and they could read it and talk about it together among their peers, you would still be teaching, and maybe having a greater impact than all the talking that you're trying to do.
Yes.
So all of these things are considered to be healing centered. So people just don't want to sit around and talk about all the bad stuff that happened to them. They want to build upon their strengths. So that's one of the tenets of healing. Now we're moving into Healing Center, but that was an excellent question. So healing centeredness, one of the first things that's really important is, of course, with anything, is relationships.
Okay.
Having quality relationships. And it does not start with us reprimanding our youth for everything that they do wrong. Because if you know anything about dealing with young people, just for an example, if you see possibly a young person, maybe they're at church, and they may have on something that you may think is inappropriate.
Mm.
But then every other Sunday, you don't say nothing. You don't say, "How you doing? How's school this week? All right. Give me a hug." You never greet them like they're a person. But then when they do something, or they're inappropriate in some way, that's when we had an interaction. So that's like that negative type of attention. A negative. They only get negative attention. Like when they're doing something right,
Right.
they don't get that attention. But as soon as they do something wrong, they do. So that's why I'm talking about relationships, because that young person would take it from me if I have already been having that positive type of interaction with them in the first place, as opposed to me never interacting with them, and then when something negative happens, I'm all down their throat.
See.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean when I say building those quality relationships.
And that's so key, because you don't want them to associate that relationship with you with that negative.
Exactly. Oh, she ain't gonna say
That's
nothing
it.
unless we're doing something
Right.
wrong.
Mhm.
So that's what I mean about healing centeredness. Looks at quality relationships, and it looks at building strengths. And when this whole strength based, I call it a framework, started, we used to have these trainings, and one of the things that we had this little page, and it had a picture of a family, and in the house looked really cluttered, and it looked like you could find a whole bunch of stuff wrong with it. Okay, but we were challenged to find out what was right with it.
Ah.
And so when I mean strength based, you might have somebody that you think that, like, that child or that person or that family is just no good. But what strength do they have? So in this illustration, you could see the child lifting his arms up to the male figure. That was a strength. You could see that there was food on the counter.
Yes.
That was a strength. You saw that the mother was a smoker, but the ashtray was not in reach of the children.
Okay.
So when I say strength based, I think that many times we get so consumed with what is not right that we don't look at the strengths. So you may have a child that you think is like he doesn't do anything right, but maybe he loves to draw in his room. Okay, but you never, or maybe he has a book that he's written of poetry, just a little binder, and he just writes down his poetry, and maybe it's a rap, and so maybe that's why you might have this like negative like connotation to it. So healing centered care is strength based. And so it looks for ways to build upon that strength. Okay, so you like airplanes. Well, let me take you to the museum who have this airplane exhibit
There you go.
and let you see that. You know, maybe I might buy you a book about airplanes. Or like you say, it's the information age, is it not? It might even be an airplane camp or a 1 day workshop you can take them to or something. So that's why I'm saying to build upon those strengths, you have to find them. One of the things that is in the positive parenting, ooh, that's a long time ago when my kids were, but it always talked about finding your children doing something right and giving them kudos for that instead of, I told you to clean that room.
There
I
you
told
go.
you to clean that room. I told you to clean that room. And then the room is clean. It's like you didn't even notice
That the room was
that
clean.
the room is clean.
There you go.
So that's what strength based is to build those positive things that are already there, and then to build that resilience, that ability to bounce back after trauma. And there's an illustration. I can't remember the lady's name, but I have the illustration. It talks about trauma, and then it talks about it has the trauma down here, and then it has the person's level of functioning before they were traumatized, and we want to get that person there. And then it has another line up here above where they were before they experienced the trauma. And that's what Flourish and Grow is about. It's about trauma. I want at least to get you back where you were before you experienced the trauma. But I really want to get you up here above where you were before you experienced the trauma. And that's where you are thriving. And
Yes.
I threw that terminology back and forth when I was picking up the name. I wanted it. Flourishing also has something to do with thriving. And I think many times we are just surviving.
Yes. Yes.
I don't want you to just survive. I want you to thrive, because if you're thriving, it has a generational impact.
Oof. Mm. Yes, that is so true. That is so true. Oh, you're okay. Jeannie said yes. You hit it on the nail. Thank you, Jeannie. Oh my goodness. You know, I am just excited that you, like you said, you were looking for somebody to do something. I'm just excited that you took on the challenge, because it is. I'm sure it is a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, found this organization to address these concerns that obviously weren't being addressed. So again, I thank you. What I want to do right now is actually I want to see if I can have my spoken word played. Right now, we have a spoken word, and I'll just let you know. My listeners should be aware. Written by Elder Kevin McGee. Now he's a host here at Intellectual Radio. He has a show here on Saturdays entitled Connections. He's a pastor, but what he does for Mind, Body, and Soul on a weekly basis is to pen a spoken word according to the topic of the day. So we have a great one here. You guys make sure you join Elder Kevin McGee on Saturdays, 12 noon Central Standard Time, for his show entitled Connections. Robert Benavides, I see you on. Thanks for watching. My high school friend there. Again, we are joined here, before I have the spoken word played. Catherine Staten is here in the building, CEO and founder of Flourish and Grow. We're talking about trauma-informed care. We're talking about how we can help you get beyond that trauma. or traumas in your life, your loved one's life. So this, if you are interested in getting above and beyond, this is the young lady that you need to check out. Her website is here, flourishandgrow.org. Make sure you guys check it out. But for right now, we're going to take a listen to the spoken word by Elder Kevin McGee. We'll be right back.
I'm troubled in my mind. I can't seem to find peace because I'm afraid to go to sleep. Sometimes I have nightmares, and what's more frightening is that I awaken from a nightmare only to face a nightmare of everyday life. Maybe it's depression. I don't know. So many thoughts running through my head feels like I'm losing a battle in my mind. I need help. Who shall I call? Who can help me to flourish and grow when no one seems to be able to relate? See, it's got to be more than just to tell me to pray about it. Maybe I don't know how to pray. Or perhaps my line to God might be temporarily out of service. So I need someone to intercede and interject words of encouragement and real help. Get to the root of the thing that has me traumatized. Help me to navigate through this valley of PTSD. Except mine is not post, but it's the present traumatic stress that has my life in disorder. Sometimes I feel like the song when it said, I looked all over, but I couldn't find nobody. I'm calling. Can anyone hear me? Who shall inform me of my trauma so that I can be healed at my center? And in my weakened condition, I heard a voice, divine, comforting, and God gives me the answer and gives me the person. He simply says, Catherine can.
All right. I can only snap one hand. I can't do my right. But I tell you,
Oh my goodness.
he pins it, and it is so on point. Thank you, Elder McGee. That was it. It was it. And I'm like, oh wow, that's perfect. Your thoughts?
Oh wow. That was really good. Thank you so much. I really just like overcome because he put flourish and grow in there, and then at the end he said my name, just destined me to do what I'm doing today. So thank you for your talent and for your pen and for doing that. Thank you.
Oh, all right, all
Thank you.
right. Yeah, I thought it was so on point. And then some of the stuff he pinned, we were just talking
Just talking
about.
about
Now,
it.
he had no clue that
Yes.
for a while before you started the organization, you were like, okay, I'm trying to find somebody that can help. You saw the study on ACEs, and you're like, okay, this needs to be addressed.
Yes.
I mean, he threw it all in there. That's why I know the Lord guides him. I
Yes.
know He does when He pins those the spoken words. I mean, it's just perfect. So my hat is off to you again, Elder Kevin McGee. Thank you so much. He says, "Check, please." He says that every week.
Every week.
I'll get you a chicken sandwich. Okay, is that all right? All right. Pastor CC, I see you on. Thanks for watching. I don't know if you guys just heard that spoken word or not. It is so on point. It's so on point for Catherine, but it's so on point anyway. He talked about the things that we deal with. Sometimes we deal with silently too, and we don't talk about it.
Yes.
So you want to change that narrative. That's
Want
what
to.
I hear.
Want to.
You want to change that narrative so we can become more and more aware of what it is that we've dealt with. That because see, again, our behavior is the result.
Of something. Yes.
It's the result of
Exactly.
something.
Exactly.
So whether it's something we want to face up to, own up to, or not, it's the reality of it.
Exactly. And just let me make this one comment because this is really one of the statements that you're going to hear when you're talking about trauma informed care is that many times in our interactions with people or if they're displaying some behavior that we think is inappropriate, we ask what is wrong with that person. What is wrong? You know, you can't come in here and do that. And I mean, we have even seen things go viral on the internet from a church service where someone gets up and says something, and we like, oh, what is
Gasping.
wrong with them? So trauma informed care says we shift our thinking from what is wrong with them to what happened to them.
Ah,
So I wanted to get that in because that's really important when you're thinking about that behavior that's being displayed in front of you, and we're blaming that person for that behavior. Basically, why can't you get it right? Why did you do that? You know you shouldn't be doing that, and we're making all these accusations, but we may not be taking into consideration the things that have happened. We don't see that. That's why when people tell me their kids are bad, I always say, who raised them?
right. There you go.
So you can just not isolate the child and their behavior and disconnect yourself from it, and you're doing the raising.
Right.
So that's oftentimes what we do when we blame people for their behavior that we think is inappropriate. We say you when we may not be looking at those other things that have happened. So if you can shift thinking from what's wrong with you to what happened to you,
Yeah.
you're going to hear that over and over again when we're talking about being trauma informed.
Beautiful. I guess I'm along the right line then, because my mentality always, when I'm looking at somebody's behavior or whatever, or somebody say, "Did you see how they?" I'm like, well, but what made them do that? I'm like, but why?
Yes.
I'm always thinking like beyond that
Yeah.
that particular action.
Exactly.
I'm in my mind I'm always saying there's something that made them do it. And I said, and I tell people sometimes, take a look back. If you take a look back, maybe their childhood or something got them to this point.
Yes.
It didn't just happen out of thin air. It did not. No matter how much we want to think that it did,
Yes.
there's some connection somewhere. I have some questions for you, but let me hop back over to Facebook and make sure that I am not missing anything. And I do appreciate you guys for hopping in, joining us on today, and your comments and your questions. And okay, I'm trying to hop over to the watch party as well. So let me ask you. Okay, Brandy said it's got to be more than just pray about it. Come on with the truth, Elder Kevin McGee. That's true. And again, I don't want people to think that I am discounting prayer. I mean, or spiritual procedures or whatever you want to call them. I mean, I grew up in a church. I know, what it's going to take, to help us, but I don't want the mentality to be that it's just I'm just going to pray about it. Because what did he say in his spoken word? I may not be at that level spiritually to pray myself out of that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah, and I heard a minister, a well-known minister, was preaching about mental wellness and illness, and he said, but it's funny, we don't say that about diabetes.
Come on.
We pray and we take our insulin.
Come on. That's what I'm saying.
But it's only when you get to mental health
mental.
that we say you just got to go in there and pray about it. You don't tell nobody that, girl.
Yes.
You don't need nobody. Just go in there and pray. But when it comes to that high blood pressure,
yes,
we pray and then we go and take that high blood pressure medication.
Yes, you do.
So with mental issues, it's somehow different. It's taboo. We know that, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to have these conversations.
Exactly, because we separate it when it should not be separated. And we can't keep separating, guys. We just cannot do that, because your mind is so important. Your mental state, it's important, and it's important for it to be healthy. So I believe that God has individuals around to help us, like Kat, or therapists or whatever, to help us, to maneuver through. And I don't believe that your experience is for naught. I just don't. Let me just throw that out there. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Flourish and Grow. I'm looking on your website. I'm telling people to go there and, check you out. Who should contact, and I would just say F&G. Who should contact Flourish and Grow? Who should come to you? Is this for everybody? Is this for just certain group of people? Um, Anybody just hop on your website, and what are they going to contact you? Yeah, I'll leave my email. Okay,
Right.
now what?
Yeah. So like I said before, I have developed two audios of the workshops that I did in December because I know I cannot be in the room with everyone. It's just not going to happen that way. I'm working on a course that people will be able to take. Individuals will be able to take if they want to get to thriving and maybe they feel like they have some things that are holding them back. So I'm working on that. So in the future, I will have that available electronically. Of course, so people can take in the comfort of their own home or on their phone or wherever they are. This has implications for all of those systems that I talked about earlier. If you look, let's just look at even corporate, and let's just look at, not to bemoan a tragedy, but in Milwaukee last week, the events that happened there at the Coors Company.
Okay, okay.
So this has implications even for the way we run our businesses.
Yes.
Because businesses are interested in the bottom line, right? They're interested in profit. But if you have employees that are 50% productive because they're using all their sick days and taking their vacation and somebody else's, are you really maximizing their bottom line? Because you may have employees that are dealing with stress and trauma and toxicity even presently. So that's affecting the bottom line at the corporation. And that's why many corporations now have employee wellness
Yes.
offices.
Yes, they do.
Okay. And so it has implications in corporate world. We've already talked about some of the family implications, individual implications. It even has implications in terms of social justice. Trauma is very much a social justice issue. So one other thing about the healing centered approach is it just does not like give a person a bag of groceries, but it looks at the systems and the things that we have set up so some people can get some things and some people can't.
Yes.
So it's got to work hand in hand. So we're dealing with the individual, the family trauma, the generational trauma, but we got systems, whole systems that are set up for people to fail.
Okay.
So if we're healing center, we're looking at the educational system. We're looking at the schools. It definitely has implications for the school because if a child is at home getting high dosages of trauma, he is definitely not going to be able to sit still and get that lesson.
Not at all.
Because when he gets to school, if he has trauma, he's passing it out.
Yes.
And so sometimes they say, well, dang, he just got off the bus and threw his coat in. Nothing even happened yet. He just got there, right?
Right.
So it has implications everywhere, from corporate to our families to our churches. Yes, even the church. We have to be better about being trauma informed and maybe not re-traumatizing people all over again.
That's a whole.
And so we know that there have been widespread traumatization in some religious organizations.
Yes.
Okay, so that's trauma.
That is trauma.
That is trauma. So we're supposed to be in the healing business, healing people, not re-traumatizing them again. Maybe they can't right now meet up to our expectations.
Yes.
Do we go and tell them like you're not up to par? So if they can't get up to par, they're not gonna keep going to an environment that tells them that they're not worthy. Are they? Are they going? I mean, if you go someplace and somebody keeps telling you you don't look right, your clothes ain't right, your kids, you're not gonna go back. Why would you subject yourself to that?
Right.
So it has implications in all those places. So we talked about corporate, we talked about home, we talked about the church, we talked about the school, all of these places. We can even talk about public safety. We could
Mhm.
talk about first responders.
Mm.
That public safety is not necessarily trained to get to a situation and diffuse it. Like they're like, put your hands up, and if a person is having a crisis, that's the last thing you need to do is holler at them.
Very last thing.
But the training is like, when you get there, take control. When you get there, let them know I'm running this now. That if somebody's experiencing a crisis, you know, but they're not. I think more and more they're becoming trauma informed and having trainings and stuff like that, and having mental health first aid training, so that when they respond to somebody in a mental health crisis, you know, they can be able to respond in an appropriate way and not necessarily think that they have to just arrest somebody or pull a gun out or whatever.
Right.
But that's what they're trained to do. I hope I answered your question. It has implications for everybody. Everybody needs to be trauma informed. So even in the home with a mother, a parent, and a child, and you may know or that your child has experienced some trauma, but you may not take that into consideration dealing with your child. Or you might not be providing them positive experiences to build up their strength, because that's going to help them in terms of the thriving and the flourishing that they want to do. So it just has implications everywhere.
Everywhere. So anyone
Anyone,
can benefit from your
anyone, and
services.
so I hope to get into facilitation of training and workshops in all of the systems that I just mentioned.
Beautiful.
All of them.
And I'm sure you've done your research to see if this has been if they maybe say like police officers or
Yes, it's trending.
okay.
Trauma informed care and definitely mental health first aid is trendy, because the governor of our state just passed a law at the beginning of the year, all K through 12 personnel to be trained in suicide prevention and be aware of mental health. Mental health first aid was named in that legislation.
All right. Good.
So in Illinois, there's going to be a big push for people who work in schools to get trained in mental health first aid, which is kind of elementary if you think about it. Okay, that's stuff somewhere you go every day, so they should be trained. Even though we ask a lot, they're supposed to be teaching. Now you want me to do mental health first aid? Can I have a resource person to possibly deal with this or something? But it definitely is trending, and in some instances, some states have looked at their preschool expulsion laws and said that in Illinois has preschool expulsion laws too. Some things you have to do, you just can't put a child out of preschool or daycare, which is really a big problem. People getting expelled from preschool. I mean, children really young children getting expelled.
Like that 6-year-old or something we just saw the other week.
Yeah.
Being handcuffed and
yeah. So you have to, they're starting to say, well, hey, let's look at the trauma that they may be experiencing in their home environment, and possibly, hopefully, maybe put something that would impact, because now you're talking about impacting at least 2 generations, at least 2, maybe even 3, and that's what it's going to take to begin to make an impact, is to impact the generation. Because you know how it is. If the nurse at the health department tell you don't cut the nipple and make it bigger and put the cereal in the bottle, don't do that. And grandma at home say, you better cut that nipple and get that baby some. What you gonna do what grandma say do, ain't you?
True.
Aren't you?
Yes.
Not ain't you, but aren't you?
Right.
You're said, listen, that baby hungry.
Okay.
Cut that nipple and put some cereal in that formula.
Right.
Right? So if I don't impact grandma, then that other generation, usually, I mean, our elders, we listen to them. That's what I'm saying. This generation got to impact the generations, and that's what it's going to take.
Okay. I love it. So let's see. Give me an example of. Hey, Angela and Andra, I see you guys watching. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm talking today with Catherine Staten, CEO and founder of Flourish and Grow, trauma informed. And what was the other part of that when you go into it?
Mental health first
Mental
aid.
health first aid. Um, take me. Okay, I'm an organization. I'm the police department in Matson, Illinois. I'm just throwing out something, and I'm reaching out to you so that you could train our employees, um, in the trauma informed um, area. What would be the steps you would kind of take them through? How can they get started? And what would be the steps after that? Do they go to workshops, classes, or can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So when I talked earlier about training, so I went to I did some online training for some a curriculum that is a promising practice. Well, when you talk about curriculum, whether it's evidence based or promising practice, or if the research has already been done, then it's evidence based. If it's in a position where the research hasn't been done but it's shown promise, then it's called a promising practice. And so I went to California. Actually, I did some online training, and then I actually went to California to be trained in a curriculum called ACE Overcomers.
Okay.
And this particular curriculum has life skills for parents, both secular and spiritual curriculum. It also has a curriculum for, let's say, health and human service workers, and so it's appropriate for in Department of Corrections in terms of training staff to be trauma informed. I've trained DHS caseworkers, did a half day training for them with the curriculum, and it also has a curriculum even for that has been used in alternative high schools with students, trying to help them to look at their behaviors and look at some of the trauma that they've experienced to get that awareness in terms of what they're doing and how to impact them now. Because we go to kids, we put the
Just throw
kids
them away.
in an alternative school, and so this curriculum has been used in all those settings. It has been used in churches. It has been used um, with mentors in juvenile justice and Department of Corrections. The life skills parenting has been used. Like I said, it's a secular and a secular and a religious, both. So you can use the secular, or you can use it if you're going to go to a church. You can use
Oh, I
you
get
can
it.
use
Okay.
that. So I received training, and I have all of that, all of those curriculums at my disposal to use. I usually do half day or all day workshops. It just depends on what that particular entity wants. I also have the trauma informed assessments for organizations, because there is an assessment if organizations really want to know, like, what does this really look like, trauma informed, what would it look like for me, for my school to be trauma informed. And there are trauma informed schools, and if you want to learn more about that, I don't know if you've seen the movie Paper Tigers. Paper Tigers is about one of the first trauma informed schools in the state of Washington. And it really gives some good insight to adverse childhood experiences, and how this particular alternative school has done a good job with keeping those students there and helping them to graduate. Okay, so I have all of that at my disposal. I have of course, I'm trained to be a facilitator for the 8 hour adult mental health first aid training, which, like I said, I think everybody should have, and that is evidence based. The mental health first aid started in Australia, and it's been in the United States since 2008.
Awesome.
Okay, and it is named as a training in the governor's recent legislation for K through 12 personnel to be trained.
Okay.
So I think that we're going to really have a lot of people requesting it and becoming more aware of it, just like you know how possibly to respond when someone has some type of physical distress because you have first aid. This is mental health first aid.
Yes.
If you're coming in contact with someone who may be at the beginning stages of developing some type of mental health concern.
Yes.
This doesn't mean we're clinicians, but we are doing what we can do in that instance right then before that crisis team gets there, before the trauma team arrives, trying to stabilize the person until help comes. And that's what first aid is.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You answered that perfectly. I loved it. All right. Hey, Katie, I see you on. Thanks for watching. Gina Gatson, I appreciate you guys. Please make sure you like and share, like and share. And when you get an opportunity, go to Catherine's website, Flourish and Grow, so you can learn more. The next question for you, is it just for organizations, or do you do personal one-on-one training, or are you just focusing on organizations?
That has been a lot of my focus, and that's why I decided to make the online course, because I know that I cannot, like I said, be in the room with everyone. But maybe you already have an existing group, and maybe you want me to bring the curriculum there and teach them, in that existing time frame that you already have, that you're already building these types of competencies, in that group. I'm open to that. But that is one of the reasons why I'm building an online course so people can access it, get the information, and then have something to kind of like see, because the workbook will help you like kind of like chart your progress, and you can figure out, see where you were, work on probably a couple, one or two goals, and then try to see how you can accomplish that and move on to the other stuff that you want to do.
Okay. I see. I was looking through your website as well. I think that I'm trying to look at it on my phone now. The other part, I'm scrolling. You guys forgive me. I'm trying to get to where I saw it, because it has here where you can get started. I see your video.
Hmm. And then it has a place to put your contact information and a little narrative,
Yes.
and then submit that to them.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And so if they do that, I will send them that audio, and then I will address whatever comments they have in that narrative part as well. Like
All
if they
right.
say, "Can you come to here? I like to speak to you about this." You know,
Yes.
I can respond that way.
Okay. Well, that's good. What are some of your, or maybe give me one of your testimonials, positive testimonials of from clients that you've had.
So I'll give you a testimonial about a training that I did. Just trying to get my feet wet. I did a half a day training at an office in the city that serves basically it's casework staff, and the person that was like, we don't really have the funding to bring people in to train, and will you come? And I said sure. And so that day, it was training to help them to serve the teams that they serve, but then also it was self care as well. Because probably the next audio I'm going to do is going to be all about vicarious trauma.
Ooh.
Vicarious trauma in that when you're leading and helping people, you don't. There is a lack of self care. I'll put it that way.
Got it. Yes.
It's a lack of self care, caring for yourself.
We do this
Okay.
so often.
Yeah. So some of the comments I got was that I was not aware of this information. Like some of the staff didn't know about the adverse childhood experiences study. They didn't know about it. They were able to actually take the mini ACE questionnaire, the 10 questions on the mini ACE questionnaire. They were actually able to take it, and they were able to, because I always have an opportunity for people to score somebody else
Yes.
because it's easier. And I usually use Kirk Franklin's song where he talks about his, the song that Kirk Franklin has, "Let It Go,"
Yes.
and he goes from the rooter to the tutor
Mhm.
when he talks about his mother gave him up when he was 4 years old.
Yes.
And so it starts there, and so they listen to the song, and they actually have the ACE questionnaire in front of them, and then when the song is over, they can really score him as far as his ACEs is concerned. So I do that because it's less confrontation.
There
And
you
then
go.
some people say, "Well, I took it and I got." Some people in the class say, "I have these is how many that I have." Some people are reluctant to even take it, and that's fine. Remember, we're just starting conversations. Okay. So they did that, and then I talked about some mechanisms for them to cope. Kind of talked about the brain development because we have a tendency to think that adolescents have an adult brain and they don't.
Mhm.
So if you're serving them, you may start like I told you said you was gonna do. That's the adolescent brain. They're not adults.
Right.
Physically, they look grown, but they're not. So just things that they did not know.
Yes.
That things that they did not know. I gave them a little tool to put in their office space, and it helps them to ask that team, whoever they're serving, like, "How are you today?" So it has a green face, a yellow face, and a red face, and the team can say, "Well, this is kind of how I feel." And if there's some concerns, possibly there could be, some use of other resources just to
Mhm.
kind of say, "Hey, I can't do it all, but
Yes.
this is what I can offer you."
Okay.
So
I
did
love
that.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, that's good to have those positive testimonials, and I'm quite sure that individuals are satisfied when they come to you. So again, you guys make sure you visit her website. We're gonna wrap up actually. Nicole and Ratasha, I see you guys just jumped in. You may have to be kind and rewind so that you can listen to the entire broadcast for today. It was a great session here with Catherine State, and Kat is in the house. She came to get caught in the net and to tell us about Flourish and Grow. Trauma informed approach, and you will benefit if you visit her website. I'm so glad that you took time out to join us on today, and I appreciate you. And again, for all that you are doing, and I bid you Godspeed.
Well, thank you.
And we will be connecting because
All right.
I wanna do
All
some
right.
stuff with you.
Okay.
Thanks for my time here at Intellectual Radio. If you guys are interested in the show, make sure you contact Earl Winfrey or Wanda B. They will definitely assist you. Coming up later, I believe, will be To Your Health with Dr. G. Make sure you watch him. We have a whole slew of evening shows here at Intellectual Radio. Make sure you stay tuned on Wednesdays and every day. All right, there's something every day for you. I'm going to get out of here. You guys, I have a hot guest on next week. You do not want to miss it. I'm going to do my pre-show for it. So make sure you stay tuned. Go to my website, Get Caught Internet Radio, all one word. You will find out. All right, we're out of here. Until next time, I want you to soar to get caught up with the net, but also prepare to break nets with a net. Take care.
Get caught in a net with